Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. How are we going? We are officially a week down of quarter 4, and I want to speak to you about October theory. You've probably seen this maybe on TikTok, Reels, about the theory that when we hit October, we start to get the same feeling as we do January 1st. And so we start to feel really motivated about our goals and we start to see, okay, what goals haven't I hit this year? What am I going to do to reach these goals and to make life's changes? And I think it's a very interesting theory, one that I feel myself, I see my clients go through, I see my friends go through. And we're going to talk about what it looks like to actually recognize if by this point in time you are in a plateau. So, before we get into that, if you are watching here on YouTube, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I would absolutely love it if you could hit the subscribe button, if you could hit the thumbs up. It supports the channel so much. And in fact, you guys loved my last podcast episode because you were sharing it around. And I love that. If you were listening, I would appreciate a 5-star review, a written review. It really, really helps to support the channel, to push out the channel. And I feel like this year in the podcast has been great with the guests that I've had, the topics that I brought to the podcast. And it's because of you guys. It's because understanding what you want. And when I have conversations with you all over on Instagram, I love to have a conversation. So if you take a screenshot of this episode, you tag me or you let me know in the DMs your favorite part. I love, love, love those conversations. And even down below here on YouTube, let me know what's your favorite part of this episode and if you can relate. So, back to October theory. As I said, it's this feeling where right now we are looking at the rest of the year, the last 3 months of the year, and we're thinking, what can we do to achieve the goals that I haven't already? Or you get this like boost in motivation. But I'm going to, and I have my notes here on the side of me so I do not forget anything. But I want to bring to your attention if you are in a plateau in life, when you feel like, okay, I have this motivation now and I do want to work towards something, it's really, really important instead of trying just to put a band aid over what you're doing currently or what your day to day actions look like, to understand what is happening at the root. When you understand what a plateau looks like, especially as a high achiever, then you can better work around the symptoms of a plateau. And I know that there have been so many times when it hits October, and this can be applied to any point in the year, but I just thought I'm seeing the October theory around there on TikTok, Reels, all of that. I thought it would be great to bring up on the podcast. But again, you can use this at any point in time in this year. But I think it would be, I thought, it's great to know the certain ways to move forward and what to do and tips and tricks where I share so much on my podcasts already and all of my channels. But let's actually recognize 5 signs of being in a plateau when we hit this point in the year. So you can actually start to work on those. Because when you work on those, when you work on the root of why you're not moving forward, then you get to understand yourself better. And this is what I do in the world of JP. The woman mastery methodology is all about reconnecting to yourself, mastering yourself as a woman, being able to have a relationship with yourself, to tap into your intuition, to build your self trust. Because when you have self trust, you lead yourself, you back yourself. And when you're backing yourself, you're unstoppable, right? So let's go into what it looks like if you're feeling this October theory where you have a bit of, I guess, more motivation or more drive, I should say. I prefer the word drive towards your goals, or you're like, okay, 90 days left of 2024. What can I possibly do to make the best out of my finances, my career, or my business, my health, my wellness, my relationships? What can I do? These are the 5 things that I want you to start to look out for that maybe unconsciously or you're consciously aware of it now, hindering you and your success. So, and I'm reading my notes so I don't forget anything. But number 1, you're putting in the same or even increased effort, but you're not seeing any progress. So you have right now, if you reflect on the past 90 days, stagnant results despite effort. So, whether that's in the sales in your business or working towards a promotion or your health and fitness, it's probably a clear sign you've hit a plateau when you feel like you're super busy. You feel like you're doing everything you possibly can, whether it's showing up more, maybe it is, doing different rituals and routines. Like you are putting the effort in, but you're still seeing stagnant results. What this means to me, it doesn't mean that I want you to try harder. We know the answer isn't trying harder or pushing harder or grinding harder. The answer really in this circumstance is to ask yourself, am I actively self-reflecting? Probably weekly and even daily. The daily self-reflection doesn't have to be like a hour-long self-reflection at the end of every day, because who has time for that every day? But you should be putting yourself in a position where you at least have 5 to 10 minutes. You can write it in your journal, your phone notes. You can think out loud, go on a walk and think about, okay, what happened today? What worked really well? What didn't work really well? Most people, when they are putting in the effort, and this is what I see when women come and work with me, is they actually are trying so hard, but they're not self-reflecting on what they did the week before, the month before, the last 90 days before. And so they're just repeating exactly what they're doing. And this is going to be a point as well. And this reminds me, by the way, I have a couple of spots open for the Visionary 2025 Planning Edition. So, what it is, it's a 4-week mentorship, one-on-one intensive mentorship, accountability, where we have we create a step-by-step plan for your 2025. So, we look at your values, we look at the goals you want to achieve in 2025. We understand the unconscious blocks of this year. We go through the woman mastery methodology of understanding, okay, why haven't I achieved what I wanted? Or why do I feel like I have these big visions, but I'm struggling? We go in depth. If you're not looking for a mentorship capacity space, it's probably not for you, because it's accountability, it's intensive. We do a lot of strategizing. Yes, we tap into the energetics as well, because you need both of those, but we actually just plan out in entirety what your 2025 looks like, so you have a clear path of action. There is nothing worse than having a great big vision and not having a path of action, or feeling like you just are so scattered in your brain. If you are feeling scattered in your brain towards your goals or what you want to achieve in 2025, but we also tap into your longer term vision, this is the 4-week mentorship for you. All of the details are in the show notes below. And if you have any questions, slide into my DMs on Instagram. But truly, this was inspired by that. I'm having so much fun with the women that are already in the visionary, and just like looking at what they've achieved this year and being like, how can we 10x that? Because that's the best feeling, isn't it? Okay, number 2, you have a lack of motivation or excitement. I'm probably going to use more of the word excitement. I'll go into it, and like lack of inspiration. So you don't feel that excited or that inspired by your work or your projects. The sense of enthusiasm that used to drive you has been replaced with a feeling of going through the motions. So every day you're kind of just going through the motions. You're not genuinely inspired about what's happening. If you are not inspired about what you're working towards, if you have a 9 to 5 job, like your projects in that, you're not inspired, that's a clear indication. If you are in your business and you're doing things because you've always done it that way, or someone has told you you need to do it that way, but you're not excited about it, you're not inspired, it's not a way to operate. Are there going to be things in your career, in your business, your health, your finances that you're like, mediocre? Of course. But those are the things that you find a way that are going to inspire you and feed into your values, or you delegate it. You delegate it or you eliminate it if you can. There are things in my business that I held on to over the past year and a half that was not sparring whatsoever. And I actually just eliminated them. I was like, I am just doing these things for the sake of doing them, because I used to enjoy them. They used to be inspiring, but now they don't serve a purpose. And that's the beauty of change, right? You find things that once inspired you and once was driving you, but no longer are in alignment with you. And that's okay to let go of that part of you. So I want you to do a deep dive and look at your life, all the areas of life, and understand what are the things you are currently doing that aren't exciting, that aren't inspiring. Now, what I share with you today, these 5 points, they may be things that are like, yeah, this is super obvious, but how like, are you going to take action on them? I think that's the biggest question. These are the questions I have with my clients. It can sound so simple, but you need to be able to take action. So for this, like, quite literally, go and sit down with your phone notes or journal and write out the things that you were doing in your business, for example, and what is it inspiring you, or what is a container that you are currently still running. I did this. I shut down my biggest group container that I'd ever had, the Fem Club. You can still get it as a self-paced program. The link should be in the show notes below. So the Fem Club was all about your personal development as a woman, and it really started to shape my woman mastery methodology. And over 250 women took part in this, and I shut it down because it no longer became inspiring. It wasn't that the work wasn't what I advocate for, because I still do. I still share that. It's like I've had many, many women tell me this is like a Bible for me. But in the way that I was operating my group coaching, in the way that I was connecting with my clients, it wasn't inspiring. And I had to be really, really honest with myself and change things and shift things. So look for the things that are no longer exciting. Look for the things that are inspiring you. Change the way you do it, eliminate it, or delegate it. Number three, this is a huge one. This is a big one, but repetitive daily routine. If your days are looking the exact same, you're not challenging yourself with anything new, then you are more than likely stuck in a comfortable but repetitive cycle. And Joe Dispenza says this: if you aren't consciously becoming aware of how you are operating, of the actions you're taking every single day, of how you were thinking the day before, and if that's changing, you will live the same day on repeat. This is why there's so many people in the rat race who will go 10, 20, 30, 40 years doing the exact same thing. And they will it's just this hamster wheel, because it's easy, it's on autopilot, they're choosing it every single day, they know the outcome, and that's boring. If you're watching this or you're listening to this, you are attracted to this because you don't want to live a mediocre life. You are attracted to this podcast and to this episode because you want an above average life. But to get an above average life, you need to be able to realize when you are in a repetitive daily routine. And that may be as simple as changing where you go for coffee in the morning and starting there. That may be, instead of, maybe you've done a whole year of journaling for an hour in the morning and then go for a walk. Do something different, switch it up. To change as a person, to understand what does inspire us, to understand what we like, who we are, to have a deeper self exploration, we need to change and we need to be flexible. And yes, I am completely for, we need like a routine, right? Like, let's say you have a 9 to 5 and it's like, just, I wake up an hour before, like or 2 hours before I get my workout in, and then I go and do that's fine. But you still need to learn how to switch it up, or to do things differently, or to stop your brain from going into the autopilot. Things like brushing your teeth, yeah, we want to be in the autopilot. We don't want to consciously think about that every single day. That's exhausting. But if you have lived the same day in the past 90 days, something has got to change. When you are stuck in a repetitive cycle, it's a sign that you're not pushing your limits anymore. It's a sign that you're not expanding your comfort zone. It's a sign that you choose. Everything's a choice. I just made a reel about this. Everything's a choice. You are in a position where every single day you are choosing the exact same thing. And if you choose the exact same thing, guess what? You get the exact same results. And I know that's really, really hard, or maybe triggering for some people to hear. I had to say this to myself. I had to hear this a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago, where I was choosing every single day to do the exact same thing, to operate in the exact same mindset, to be in the exact same behavior. And guess what? I got the exact same results. And so, even though you may be at this point of year, tying it back to what I said, the October theory, of feeling super like motivated, driven to do something different, and in the next 90 days, like, this is one of the biggest ones. Unless you're changing that daily routine, things are going to look exactly the same come December 31st. Number four, you're avoiding risks or new challenges. So you find yourself, or finding yourself, saying no to opportunities that feel even slightly uncomfortable. It's like you start to go into this lizard mind of thinking, reptilian mind of the fear of not choosing different. You're avoiding the risk. You're avoiding trying anything brand new. You cannot create, if we look at neuroplasticity and our ability to be able to mold the brain to the way we want it, if you aren't doing something new, if you aren't expanding that comfort zone and choosing risks, choosing new challenges. If you don't like the word risk, fine, new challenges, you will never create new neural pathways. The only way to change your self concept and the way that you're operating every day and to change your experience in life and to change inevitably your results is to create new neural pathways. But if every single day you're saying no to different opportunities in your career, in your business, into what you're doing, if you get an idea in your head, you're like, that would be really cool to implement in my business. And then an hour later, you talk yourself out of it. That's just choosing the same thing. You're in your reptilian brain where you're just on the hamster wheel. And so, what is your ability to expand that? What is your ability to create new neural pathways for your brain to make different connections? And this is a clear sign that if you're saying no, and if you have in this past year said no to new opportunities, or you're avoiding new challenges, or you keep putting off going to that networking event because it's too scary to go by yourself, or you keep avoiding to um sell a different container than you ever have, or to go for that promotion, or to do something different with your friends, you again are choosing not to challenge yourself, and you cannot expand unless you're challenging yourself. And then number 5, this is a clear indication. Like this one, I always know when I start to feel this like repetitively, I'm like, okay, what needs to change? I'm in a little bit of a plateau in my business or my life or my relationships, and it's feeling frustrated. It's feeling restless. It's feeling bored. And, I've experienced this a couple of times over the past couple of years. Just because you're high achieving, just because you have a vision for your life, just because you do want to live an above average life, doesn't mean you don't get frustrated or restless or bored with what you're doing. And it's that feeling where you're bored, but you just don't know why, and you're just going back and forth and you're not making progress, or you have no new goal to work towards, or like putting together everything I've said today, you're just repeating the same things. This is a big indication for me. I've definitely seen this in my clients, especially my long-term clients who I've worked with for a couple of years, where they get so restless with their life. They can't quite get satisfied, and it's not the perfectionism, it's not being happy with what they've achieved. They're just restless. And when you are restless and you're bored with where you're at and you can't pinpoint why, it is a clear indication that you have plateaued, that something needs to dramatically change. And when you feel this, it's about not shaming yourself, not judging yourself. It's in fact just getting super, super honest about what has led to this boredom, what has led to you just being restless about life and being frustrated with life. And there's no point in it. We want to have a human experience, and we want to feel the frustration and the restlessness and the boredness. It's not about avoiding those, but it's about leaning right into them and getting really honest. Like, why am I feeling this? What has caused this? What are the actions that have led to this? What have I done over the past 90 days, 6 months that have led to this? And when you to kind of bring this all neatly, when you bring all of these 5 points together and we tie it directly to the October theory of wanting to do something different, these 5 points are actually going to indicate to you whether you have hit this plateau and whether it is time for you to make a change, but to give you more of the drive and focus. Because sometimes this October theory, it's like, yeah, I know, because we got 3 months left of the year. I want to make a change. I feel like this energy. But sometimes we actually need to understand why and how we've gotten to where we currently are. And like I said, it doesn't need to just be used in the last 3 months of the year, the last quarter of the year. It can be used at any point. You can use this next April if you see fit. But this is really for you to witness, hey, I'm in a bit of plateau. And so instead of getting the dopamine hit and speaking that I'm going to change, or I'm motivated to do something, or I should do that, or I should do this, it's like, no, hang on. I can now fully recognize that I hit a plateau, that I'm repeating the same things, and I know I'm here to live a great life. I know I have a bigger vision than what I've been living at, and now is the time. So I hope that you have found this very, very helpful. I had this conversation with a couple of my clients last week. Hope you found it very, very helpful. And if you want an extension of this, 2 ways. Number one, I mentioned the Visionary. It's a 4-week one-on-one mentorship. We focus exclusively on 2025 planning. So we plan out your 2025. We take all the scattered brain thinkings and we put it into an action plan of what that's going to look like and really being able to sculpt your year. So if you want a mentorship where you have the accountability and you have me as the feedback to guide you, definitely get into that. If you want something just to start off with, highly recommend getting into the Reset Audio Training Program. It's 7 audios. It's something you can listen to. If you love the podcast, it's really a no brainer that you should be investing in this. It is something where you can listen on your hot girl walk, while you're cooking, while you're driving. And it is training on how to work through self sabotage, how to work through fear of judgment, fear of success, how to change and shift your self concept, and also learning how to tap into your nervous system when you're feeling that fear. It's actually one of my favorite things that I've ever created. And I thought instead of doing like a program like I normally do, why don't I do it in an audio form so you can listen to it at any point in time? All of that is in the show notes below. But as usual, I hope that you've gotten so much from this. I hope it's given you some ideas of where you're at and to actually identify, okay, I'm not just going to say I'm going to make a change. I'm actually going to make a change now. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.